Good day. You're watching Community Shield, a program brought to you by the Houston Police Department. Hi, my name is Officer Jesus Robles in the Office of Community Affairs. We want to thank you for watching us this day. We also want to thank Now Media, Heraldo Media Group, for allowing us to broadcast on different markets in the United States, on different TV stations and radio stations. And we want to thank our Chief Troy Finner for also allowing for this program to air. Now, this week is very special. This week, we are honoring our fallen police officers, those officers that lost their lives in the line of duty. Thank you for your service, for there's no greater love than for man to lay down his life for his friends. We're honoring them on this very special week. We have a couple of events that are programmed this week and one very special on Friday in our police memorial. So if you can join us, that would be great. Check out our website to get more information on Police Week. And we also want to just invite you to stay along because Sergeant Robert Ruiz, retired Sergeant Robert Ruiz, is going to be walking us through our museum. We're going to be going through that memory lane, and he's going to be telling us all the things that he remembers and some of those interesting objects or relics that we have there in the Houston Police Museum there at 1200 Travis. If you want to ever visit it, 1200 Travis, right at the corner with Polk. Now, we're also going to be visiting our 5th Ward Community Center. We were out there, the Houston Police Department, feeding, targeting the hunger, right? And we were working with the Houston Food Bank, targeting hunger, East West Bank, and another organization that was helping out load all this food on these vehicles. That was an awesome event. So stick around. We have pretty good words there from our community. And we also visited East Side Patrol. East Side Patrol, we were doing some reports, some burglary prevention reports there on some of the parking lots, and we have some interesting words from our community members. Stick around. This is Community Shield of the Houston Police Department. Please share the program, the only program of its kind in the nation.
Hi, I'm retired Sergeant Robert Ruiz with the Houston Police Department, and welcome to the Museum for the Houston Police Department, which is located at 1200 Travis on the main floor of our police headquarters. Hi, I'm Robert Ruiz, retired Sergeant with the Houston Police Department, 41 and a half years. Doing this presentation on the museum, but just to give you a short history on myself, I came on the department in 1980 and just recently retired in March of 2022. I've served in a variety of assignments, DWI Task Force, Central Patrol, the Jail Division, Homicide Division, and I ended my career at the Eastside Patrol Station, where I was a sergeant for almost 25 years in a variety of assignments at the Eastside Station. So it's my pleasure to give you a tour of our museum, which is located at 1200 Travis. So just to give you a little short history in the city of Houston. The city of Houston was founded in 1836 by the Allen brothers along the banks of the Buffalo Bayou. They named it after Sam Houston. With any town, law enforcement has to come in to provide safety for the citizens that live there. So in 1841, the first city marshal was elected, which was the precursor to the first police chief. And so it was established. At that time, there were no uniforms, there were no rules, The marshal basically appointed his people to serve on the department, and they provided security and responded to calls that were needed in the city. 1860, they appointed a new marshal who then became the police chief and started the Houston Police Department. As it was established in 1866, unfortunately, we had the first recorded history of a police officer or a Houston police officer killed in the line of duty. So as you can see, the history is progressing even back then. As if you look at Western movies, things of that sort, the life of a law enforcement officer was not always the safest. And sometimes when you come up against bad guys, bad things happen. So in 1873, we had our first black officer hired. That was, when you consider Reconstruction and the deep divide that was created by the Civil War, that was a major move in a city in the state of Texas to appoint its first black officer. It was also in 1866 that we had the first uniform. It was then at that point that the department began to wear uniforms. You can see we progress. We're going to take a walk along the museum, look at the different displays, and I'll give you a short history of what I remember and what I've been able to research on the Houston Police Department. This is our first stop. It's a display of our Air Division, which is comprised of several helicopters, and basically we refer to it as Fox. It was established, or first looked at in 1962. It was proposed by then Captain Elliser, who proposed it to City Council and to the command staff. In 1969, there was $250,000 that was earmarked for a police helicopter patrol operations, and the first helicopters that were provided, 3, were 180 horsepower Lycoming H10360A1A powered 300Bs. Or helipads that were provided at various stations where helicopters could land if necessary. The division has grown recently, even more so. 2021 marked 51 years of its existence. The unfortunate thing is that they have had one death in the division. That was Officer Jason Knox, who was killed in 2021 when his aircraft was crashed on a site in Northeast Houston. Officer Jason Knox is the son of Officer Mike Knox, who retired and then went on to become a city council member with the city of Houston. And basically the duties of the Fox unit is to provide support for those officers that are on the street who may be pursuing a vehicle, who may be pursuing a suspect on the ground, which is basically a suspect that's evading on foot. And so they provide air coverage and many times provide direction to the officers on the street to find the suspect and apprehend him and arrest him. Move on to some of the early uniforms that were worn by Houston police officers. As you can tell, the badge, which is still used in that shape, the belt around his waist to where he wore the tools of his trade, his weapon or firearm, handcuffs, bullets, things of that sort. If you look down toward the bottom, it'll show the different, I'm going to refer to them as tools that many of the officers would wear in and around their belt. Picture of the police department in 1901. You can see the command staff on top, the officers that worked. You can see the change or the modernization of the police department. The officers are now wearing the old type of hats here. The uniform is a wool blend, and sometimes just a wool type uniform. And also, as you can see, what you see to your left are basically uniforms that were worn by the military that the department is inheriting or buying and outfitting their officers. Also, what we see come into play at this time are phones, which are just recently being installed, have just been invented. And if you look, there's a key on there, and that's call box. And so if an officer wanted to check in at the department or with the headquarters, he would open it up. It would be a direct line to headquarters, and that's how sometimes they would call for support or a wagon to come pick up a prisoner, or they would get an assignment. Hey, I need you to go check the fight at this bar, or someone's reporting a theft, and this is how they would get their assignments. There were no radios at this time, so this was the main or the primary source of communication between the officers on the street and headquarters or dispatch. As we move on to the second display, you can tell that these are uniforms of the motor division, which is basically officers on motorcycles. As the city grew, we began to see an increased amount of traffic with the invention of the car or the automobile. They also had to deal with, again, we were a western town. We had horses and wagons that were still being used, but they also, our forefathers or the command staff found the need for traffic police officers, or some people refer to as traffic cops. And they also began to use the motorcycles. As you can see, they ran from anywhere from Harley Davidsons to Indians to the first motorcycles that were manufactured back in the early 1900s. Now, as you can see, that the uniforms are steadily improving. You see different styles. If you noticed around the waist, we refer to that as a Sam Browne. It's what we put our holster on, handcuff holder, things that helps basically carry the tools. But you also notice that there's like a shoulder strap that would support the belt. We currently use belt keepers, but apparently they weren't invented back then, and so they use the strap around the shoulder to help support the belt and such. But as you can tell, the police blue is now coming into style. Some people refer to the hat as a bus driver hat, but you can see it's a visor. But it's also based on the military garrison hat. So you can see this is a display of pictures that were taken in the early years of the department. It shows some of the academies that were from various cities within the United States to show, what the training was that was provided to the Houston police officers. It's also got a picture of 61 Reasoner, which was at that point, or at that time, a very state-of-the-art police headquarters that was built in 1952. We still have it, we still use it. Basically, it is the headquarters for Central Patrol and various other units within the police department at this time. But if you look to your right, as we scan down, you can see the different badges that were worn by different officers or different units within the police department. As you can notice, again, is the patrol officers or police officers badge. The silver badge to the right is the head badge that was worn. You notice that the ones in gold are supervisor, the gold color. And then we also had another rank, Inspector of Police, which is no longer used. But again, the badge and the shield are often what is presented to officers when they first swear on to the police department. All right. This display is a display of our mounted officers. The mounted unit was reestablished in 1984. I think in part what happened is why we didn't have it and had to be reestablished is that the city of Houston was modernizing, excuse my English, but was basically wanted to get away from being the Western theme and looking as a modern city for businesses and people to move to. So they got away with it. But what they found is that mounted patrol provided visibility in the downtown area. It improved safety, and they reestablished it in 1984. So as you can look at the uniform, they wear the breeches with the long boots. The horses are well trained. They go through an extensive training period with the officer and before they even are put on the street. Mounted patrol is very useful during large demonstrations, parades. One of the parades that I had, that I was fortunate and had the pleasure of working was the Houston Astros World Series parade. And I can tell you that if we had not had mounted there, we would have lost, become surrounded by the crowd. It was very exuberant and wanted to just reach out to their sports heroes. So Mounted Patrol did a great job on that day. Also during the recent protests, they were also provided support to the officers that were on crowd control lines. So they do a great job of interacting with the public. So it's a great unit. One of our displays here within the museum is of Captain Ephraim Leha. He was the first Hispanic to be promoted to the rank of captain. He was a great leader, very well respected within the ranks. Unfortunately, his life was cut short and he passed away. In his honor, there was a storefront that was named at the Chavez High School in his honor. He leaves a legacy of various relatives within the police department and such. So this is a display of officers who were killed in the line of duty with the Houston Police Department. Unfortunately, there are just too many, and it's such a sad thing, but this is to show them honor and that they'll never be forgotten for their ultimate sacrifice to the citizens of Houston and to their police department. Unfortunately, in my 40-year career, I know some of the officers that were killed in the line of duty, and I miss them, so they'll be sorely missed. But during Police Week, which is this week, we come together to honor those who have given their lives for the safety of their community and for the safety of the citizens of the city of Houston. So, and these are the badges that these officers wore. It has their badge number. It has there were supervisors. You can tell as we move to the left are the early badges of the Houston Police Department. And the names. As I told you, the first officer that was killed in the line of duty was in 1860, which is C. Edward Foley. And he's the first recorded death in the line of duty. Kind of a tidbit on C. Edward Foley is that he was killed by an ex-Houston police officer. That Houston police officer, or ex-Houston police officer, went to trial. They were unable to determine the extent or what occurred, and he was not convicted. Just a little bit of history. This is a very moving display because, as I've said before, I knew many of the officers, at least in my 40 years on the department, that I did know. Florentino Garcia, James C. Boswell, John Savaggio, name a few. And just most recently, one of my co-workers, Sergeant Christopher Brewster, who was killed in the line of duty in 2019. And a dear friend, Ernest Leal Jr., who died of COVID complications, and his wife Dee.
Thank you for sticking around and also for sharing the program. Thank you, Sergeant Robert Ruiz, for helping us through this journey in the museum. Now, stick around because we are visiting this 5th Ward Community Center, and we were helping, Houston police officers were helping load up these vehicles with food, targeting hunger. All right, with our friends from East West Bank, another nonprofit organization, our friends from the Food Bank. So I hope you enjoy this. We have some interesting testimonies.
Hi, George Guerrero with Houston Police. I'm here with Amber Khan with Houston Police. We're here targeting hunger with the Houston Food Bank. We're helping box up food and feeding the needy.
That's right, George. We're just out here to help and do our part for the community out here in 5th Ward. And it's beautiful weather, and
Couldn't ask
let's
for a
get
better
packing.
day.
¿Cómo está? Buenos días. Good morning. How are you?
Fine.
What are we doing this morning? ¿Qué estamos haciendo aquí?
Getting some food.
All right. What is your name, sir?
Jose Valdez.
Okay, Jose Valdez. Thank you. Buenos días. Good morning. How are you? ¿Cómo se llama?
Telma,
Telma. What are we doing this morning, Telma? ¿Qué estamos haciendo hoy?
estamos ganando las cajas de los seniors.
Órale, seniors, ¿comida?
Sí.
Muy bien. Gracias, Telma.
Yo te conozco
Sí, ¿de dónde me conoce? Where you know me from?
from church.
Ah, from church. Okay,
Ajá.
okay, Telma. Muy bien,
Yes.
muy bien.
You came from me, I got pictures.
Yeah, okay. De la Immaculate Conception.
Sí,
Ah, okay, good.
Harrisburg.
Well, guess what? HPD is going to be right here. We're going to be working the boxes and the food and all that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
Telma, mucho gusto y ahorita nos vemos ahí.
Okay.
Thank you. How are you doing? Good morning. What is your name?
Let's move.
Okay. How was your day today? Ready to get some food today? The Houston Police Department's working the line over there, okay? Thank you. ¿Cómo está? Buenos días. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm doing all right.
What are we doing this morning?
Well, sir, I appreciate all for the food pantry they do for us.
Yes.
They really help us in the house,
There you go.
for me and my family.
Thank you, sir. And you know who's working the line this morning?
No, sir, I don't.
The Houston Police Department.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. That's good. I appreciate that. They do a lot for us anyway, too, the police department.
What do you think about the police department serving some food out here?
Oh, I love it, sir. I didn't know it was the police department, but I'm grateful for them that they're doing not only take care of us, plus give us the food, too.
Well, thank you, sir, for giving me a couple of words, okay? You have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, too. God bless you, too, sir.
Thank
and
you.
the food pantry.
There you go. Ending hunger. There you go. Target hunger. All right. Good deal.
Thank you, sir.
How are you doing? Good morning. Just stopping by saying hi to everybody.
Oh, okay. Hi. Good
Yes. What is your name?
morning. Stacy.
Stacy. We're just greeting people today. The Houston Police Department is working the line, serving the food. What do you think about that?
I think it's very good. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yes,
It's not only arresting, but it's also feeding. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's good. I think it's good.
There you
very
go.
positive. Thank you.
Look at you. You're busy reading a book. I'll let you continue reading this book. Okay.
Okay. All righty.
All right. You be blessed.
You too.
Thank you. How are you doing, sir?
Okay.
What is your name?
Charles Rayon.
Charles, guess what? Today the Houston Police Department is going to be working the line
Yes, sir.
and serving the food.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, this is the first time I ever seen HPD do traffic control, like serving food.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be traffic control today. Remember, we're going to drop those police duties to feed and target the hunger.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good thing. My oldest brother is a retired Houston police officer.
All right.
Yes,
What is his name?
Theodore Rayon.
Okay, Teodoro Rayon.
Yeah, he worked out of the Northeast
Okay, good deal.
Northeast Station. Yes, sir.
Do you want to send a special shout out to anybody that's watching right now?
Just shout out to Houston, Texas, and HPD.
All right, HPD.
Yes, sir.
All right, you have a good day, sir.
Yes, sir. You too now.
We'll continue. We're greeting some of the people that are arriving here for the food bank this morning, and we're just saying hi. Hola, ¿cómo está? Buenos días. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good and yourself?
Good. Did you know that the Houston Police Department's out here serving the boxes and working the line?
Oh no, that's great.
Yeah. Have you seen anything like that before?
No, I haven't. I think that's a good idea.
All right. How many kids?
I have 2 kids
All right.
and
Two.
my sister.
All right. The sister. Okay. Good deal. Well, you have a good day. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're out here today with East West Bank and all of our volunteers working at the Project Hunger food handout with our friends at the Houston Police Department. Hopefully we're going to have a great day out here. It looks beautiful, and we can serve a lot of people in the community. What do you guys think? We ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to go today? Let's help some people out. Are we ready? Woo! There we go. All right.
So what we got here, sir?
Onions, we got cabbage, we got milk, we got cucumbers, canned goods, all kinds of sort of things out there. A lot of good food.
So how does it feel working for Target Hunger?
Oh, I love it, man. You're helping out the community and everybody, man, and just enjoying this beautiful day, meet good people.
You want to say a couple of words to volunteers and people that don't know that this happens all the time?
Just look us up on targethunger.com. Check us out. And I appreciate all the volunteers that come out and help us, man. We have a good time and enjoy ourselves.
Thank you so much for being out here, for allowing me to speak to you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Have a good day.
is Sandy Wyckoff. I'm the CEO for Target Hunger. We're here today at one of our new food fairs since the pandemic, and we're so happy for the support of East West Bank. They're amazing volunteers, and they're also great donors. And we're also so grateful for HPD for their tremendous support throughout our 30-some-odd-year history, and especially during the pandemic and moving forward. Thank you so much.
Sir, how do you feel today?
I feel great. Glad to be helping today. It's Community Affairs Department.
I lost my loader. Oh, no, she's over there. How do you feel, sir?
Life is good.
Yes, all the time.
Making a difference.
Community Affairs.
Yes, sir.
So,
handing out some milk here.
Some leche.
Some leche.
Some leche para los niños.
Yeah.
Here you go.
In the window for her.
Here you go. All right, so today we're targeting hunger.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that awesome? What do you think about police officers and community serving the people here as we bag up and fill up the car with food?
It's wonderful. That's beautiful that y'all are doing everything. I know y'all get a bad rap, but y'all are wonderful. And I love it every time I see y'all volunteering.
All right, you want to say something about Happy Police Week?
Oh, well, congratulations to all the police. I hope that y'all are all happy.
Bye.
Now, part of the strategy of One Safe Houston is to visit our communities, right? Do these report cards and advise people about how to prevent them from being burglarized, from their vehicles to be burglarized. So stick around for this short segment where we visited Eastside and we were looking into vehicles to see if they had any items that make the public a victim of burglaries of motor vehicles. We have one really interesting testimony of one of the people that we spoke to. So stick around. You're going to enjoy this one. All right, so we are in the East Side area and we are doing theft reduction report cards. Yes, theft reduction report cards. And we're looking for certain elements in these vehicles. We have
this one right here has the doors locked. Anything in plain sight or no valuables. I don't see anything. It looks clear on this side. Doors are locked.
Right there in the center console.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
There's a couple of bullets
here too.
There's a
Oh,
jack
it's
back
chained
over
up,
here.
though. The jack is chained up.
All right. Yeah,
you
I mean,
see that? Huh.
and he's got
Well-
like something that looks like a safe over here.
Yeah, it looks like a safe in the back or some kind of
How you
toolbox.
doing? Yeah, well,
Locked up.
how you doing, sir?
Hello.
English, Spanish, ¿cómo se llama? Emilio, ok, mira, Emilio, estamos haciendo el día de hoy las inspecciones para encontrar cositas que de repente la gente se puede robar. So, mira, venga para acá. No, pues sí, vale, ¿no? Y luego especialmente cuando tienes, you know, a big old truck, beautiful truck like this one, you know? All right, so check it out. Mira, I looked inside there. Do you see what I see right there in the center console? Right here on the center console. So if I'm looking for a gun and I'm looking to steal
ammunition.
Ammunition right there. So I'm like, I know this friend of mine probably has a
Not a
you know,
good
this
deal. Not a
friend of
good
mine
deal.
probably has it, you know. But and then I see back over here. There's a
Is that a safe
is this
or
like
what
a
is
safe,
that?
right?
Yeah.
Is this a safe?
No, it's a
Toolbox?
It's a toolbox.
A toolbox.
All right. So
Okay.
there's a toolbox here, and then I see back over here you have a gato.
Yeah, you see it better on that
Or is
side,
it a
but-
jack, right? A jack. See?
At least that's chained up.
Yeah, I see it locked up.
But still, you know.
Yeah. It's got a chain. Yeah. So this is good.
got two of them.
This is good. You got it.
But I wouldn't keep ammunition just like that in plain sight. Sign that you may have a firearm in the vehicle.
Yeah. And this is a good target. I mean, truck's already a good target, you know, but
definitely.
Yeah. ¿Cómo?
I'll say I'll put them back in my pocket.
Okay. All right.
Just a learning experience. So we just want to make sure that you're not a victim of crime. No one's going to steal from you or break into your vehicle. I've had my vehicle broken into myself, so you just got to be careful on what you have in it. So we're out here doing this as a part of One Safe Houston initiative. Yes, doing overtime in the community, doing crime prevention to make sure and ensure the safety of you and others. So please pass the word on with your family and friends too about this, okay? And they can't believe in stuff like that in plain sight. We don't want other, things to happen to y'all or any kind of crime. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
¿Va a comer o ya terminó de comer o qué onda? Okay, all right.
He's eating inside.
He's finishing right here eating. All right. So we got this one right here.
This vehicle, let's see, it doesn't look like it's got anything
Exposed here. Oh, this is dark. I can't see anything in here. All right. So let's see if the doors are. Oh. Okay. All right. See that? So that door is unlocked.
Failed.
So
Another one failed.
anyways, we see this
Come
car.
on, Houston.
Yeah.
Let's work together here.
It's not
Secure our
good.
vehicles.
That's not good. You see this one?
Yeah, what
Oh.
we got inside? Oh man. Oh, just nothing really good.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing
Still
in there,
get
but
inside the vehicle. That's not good.
yeah, you can steal this. All right. So there it is. This is what we're doing as part of One Safe Houston in the East Side. We're visiting the East Side community, and we're gonna do these vehicle inspections, these report cards, the entire day. Again, we're gonna be visible in parking lots, and if anybody needs anything, this is what we're up to. All right.
And again, this is a part of the One Safe Houston initiative in hotspot areas of Houston to make sure that no one becomes a victim of a crime. That's our whole deal here, to make sure that we ensure the safety of everyone in the community. Thank you.
Let's keep going. And please don't leave any items that are visible that might make you a victim of a burglary of a motor vehicle. Thank you, Eastside Patrol Community Service, or DRT Unit 4, helping us out with this video. Now, before we conclude, we have our second part on our visit to the Houston Police Museum with retired Sergeant Robert Ruiz. Stick around for that. You're going to see a lot of interesting items here.
This is a display of the Houston Police Department Chicano Squad that was assigned to the Homicide Division. It was established in 1979 as a result of the number of murders that were occurring in the Spanish-speaking community. One of the issues that the police department was dealing with is that because of the language barrier, they were unable to get Homicide Division was unable to get information that would help lead to the arrest or solving of the homicide. So with ideals of command staff, the unit was established to basically interact with the Spanish-speaking community in an effort to solve the murders within the Spanish-speaking community. Very awarded unit. I knew many of the officers and sergeants that were on the unit. I have nothing but praise for their efforts in helping lower the murder rate within the city of Houston. They set a high bar within the Houston Police Department, almost solving every murder that they came to investigate. As you can see here, these are some of the female officers that were assigned to the Chicano squad. Officer Salceda and Officer D. Leal, who's a very good friend of mine. And I'm sorry, Office Clerk Carmen Leclerc, who held that unit together. Again, it was a great unit. It was needed at that time, and I'm very honored to have worked with a few of the officers and investigators in that unit. Such as Sergeant Cecil Mosqueda, Joe Savera, UP Hernandez, Sergeant Toby Hernandez. Ray Gonzalez, to name a few. Hector Riojas, who raised to the rank of lieutenant, who just recently retired. This display is of uniforms that were worn throughout the history of the Houston Police Department. Uniform on the left was worn by lieutenants through the 40s and 50s. This uniform, in khaki, is a uniform that cadets wore in the academy. It wasn't well liked because it was all cotton. You had to really iron it, and it wrinkled very quickly. The cadet uniform changed in the 1980 to a blue corded trousers with a white shirt. Again, this is another uniform that was worn by the police department in the 1940s, a dark blue with the light blue pants. This is a uniform for a police inspector in the 1940s. It's a dress uniform, formal uniform. As you can see, supervisors wore white hats. They still continue to wear, well, at this point they no longer wear white hats. We no longer wear white hats, but as you can tell, there's major ranks. It looks like a major insignia on the lapel to indicate that he was a command staff level. All right, this is a display of non-lethal weapons that many police officers wear while on the street. Right now we're focusing on the taser, which is used to incapacitate a suspect rather than use a lethal weapon. Those are some of the badges that some people have worn throughout their careers. There is one of the billy clubs that was used by the officers in the early days of the Houston Police Department. It's basically a wooden club with a handle that was worn along the belt. We now call it when I came on the department, it was a nightstick. We called it a nightstick because at that time it was black in color with a grommet that hung on your Sam Brown. And usually you wore it when you were responding to disturbances. It was a quite effective non-lethal weapon that sometimes had to be used to get suspects under control. This is a Thompson submachine gun. It was carried back in the early 20s and 30s when police departments were dealing with the likes of Bonnie and Clyde, Dillinger, criminals of that sort. It was approved, I believe they bought 3 back in the day to be used against those kind of criminal element. The one on
like Al Capone time?
Al Capone time. Now the one on the bottom is a tear gas weapon. So it was used to basically send smoke canisters toward crowds to disperse when necessary. This is a display of the first police headquarters. It was actually built for the police department. That housed all the agencies within the police department, investigations, mounted solos, and the officers who work the street. It was located in downtown Houston. All right, this is the uniform that was worn by Chief Elizabeth Watson. She was the first female police chief appointed in 1990. I knew her very well. Knew her husband, Robert Watson, actually worked for him when he was a sergeant over the DWI task force. She served for several years, moving on to become the police chief of Austin Police Department. That's a uniform of Pat Lycos, who went on to become the district attorney for Harris County. She served on our police department also. Just a little history tidbit, the first female officer was hired in 1918. Initially, before then, they were hired as matrons. It's always known that the police department has been male-dominated, so there was some resistance when females first came on, and initially females did not work the streets. They usually worked in support divisions such as the jail, juvenile, and such. We did have a detective that was appointed, and it was basically the precursor to the vice division, and she worked there for a number of years. Wasn't until probably the 60s or 70s that the first female was allowed to ride the streets. This is another display of the early uniforms that were worn by officers in the early years of the police department. As you can see, the uniforms beginning to modernize. We're still wearing the, as many people say, the bus driver hat. Light colored pants with a dark shirt. If you notice on the left side, as he scans up, now we begin to see the light blue uniform or light blue shirt start coming into play within the Houston Police Department. Still wearing the shoulder strap type of Sam Brown. Not as many insignias as we wear today. You can see the PD is sewn in, the name tag. The badge is, as you can see, has remained the same throughout our history. Here we find a display that is honoring the Black or African American officers that have been on our police department. In 1982, we had our first African American chief appointed to police chief, which was Lee P. Brown. Lee P. Brown is known for bringing neighborhood-oriented policing to the Houston Police Department. It wasn't a program that was well accepted within the ranks of the Houston Police Department. I can speak because I was one of those that didn't support it. Initially, we called it No Officers on Patrol because it needed officers off the street to work some of these programs that interacted with the community. I was wrong. The program became larger and definitely improved our relationship with the community. It was no longer us against them or them against us type of attitude that sometimes permeates within police departments. But I have to say that without neighborhood-oriented policing now, which is called relational policing, we probably would have had more issues during the riots. And here to my right is a old police car that's been restored. One of the first police cars that were used by early on in the Houston Police Department. As you can tell, there's really not much to it. There's no cage in the back, there's no radio inside, except for the, as we refer to it sometimes as the good time radio. No seat belts. This was definitely before all the safety features became mandatory. It does have a radio inside, but there are no lights that I can see. Well, I'm sorry. Let me go back. There are some emergency lights on front, but you don't have the overheads that you now see on our police cars or police vehicles that you see now on the street. Now, one of the things early on within the Houston Police Department, as technology improved, sometimes officers would go to a certain radio station and they could get their calls for service from that radio station, an AM radio station. So that's maybe the first dispatch was from a local radio station that would often tell the officers, hey, we need police officers at this location. Now this here is a three-wheeler Harley Davidson service motorcycle. Actually, when I came on the police department, they were still being used and just being finally taken out of the fleet. They were used in a unit that I think was called Point Control, and they would patrol the downtown business district. And this was in addition to your two-wheel motorcycles in solos. So this was a different unit. This was just a short presentation of what you will find if you come to visit our police museum at 1200 Travis in our headquarters. Various displays that I've shown you or talked about. There's a lot to read about the history of the Houston Police Department, but the main thing here is that we've honored our officers who were killed in the line of duty with a display in the back of their badges. So if anything she can come see, that would be nice to come to visit and pay your respects. So, and again, to those that lost their loved ones while on the line of duty, my prayers, my thanks that they were there when we needed them and gave the ultimate sacrifice. I still miss some of the officers that were killed in line of duty that I knew, great men and females, and it's not often they're not far from my thoughts. So with that, again, I encourage you, if you have the time and you're downtown Houston, please come and visit. You'll see a lot about our history, and you can ask questions. And feel free, if you're on the street and you want to ask questions and see some of the technology now that has come forth with the police department, do so. Officers will gladly take the time to talk to you and show you the things that now, the equipment and the improvements that now we have coming from the early years of the police car that we're driving, that used to drive there, to the improvements that now you see with the protective cages, the streamlined overheads that just you can see from everywhere. So, but take the time, say hello to your fellow police officers, and take the time, and they will gladly take the time to talk to you and explain what they do. Happy Police Week from Community Shield and from retired Sergeant Robert Ruiz. I hope you enjoyed this visit.
Good morning. My name is Robert Oles. I'm retired law enforcement. I retired from the NYPD just about 2.5 years ago. I'm here in Houston for a wedding, and I definitely am very impressed by the museum here. And interesting to see there's some good connections between Houston Police Department and the NYPD with Commissioner Brown, or Mayor Brown. And we knew him as Commissioner Brown in New York City. And also reading about the Lieutenant Morrison, who went through the NYPD Academy in 1937. And it's really impressive, and enjoy the hospitality here in Houston. Thank you very much. And happy Police Week.
And before we go, we also visited a group of retired teachers. They invited us to speak about some crime prevention tips. We were talking to them about sliders. Have you heard that term, sliders? No, it's not the burger. No, it's about the people when you go to the gas station and you are pumping gas in your vehicle, you leave your car unlocked and somebody just drives next to you, opens your door and slides in to take your items. Don't leave things like that on, and lock your doors before you pump some gas. So we're talking about sliders, right? Yeah. Okay, so what do they do when they open the door of your car? They slide. Can you say it again? Slide. And what do? They grab your purse. Hey. Now that was a room full of high energy. Man, that was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, thank you so much for have seen this program of Community Shield. We want to thank our Chief Troy Finner for trusting us in having this program to share some of the good information and showcasing some of the things that the Houston Police Department is doing. We'll see you next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Community Shield. Your friend, Officer Jesus Robles. You have an awesome day.